Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And from the Amazon jungles to the streets of Shalimar, Florida, I've had a chance to observe the patriotic service of many frontline FBI agents, and I am in violent agreement with Director Wray that the information in your report does not in any way impugn the incredible work that they do. Refresh my recollection. We know who Lisa Page is. She sent all these bad text messages about Donald Trump, but we don't know who FBI agents 1 through 5 are. Why the disparate treatment?
So when we write up our report, we apply Privacy Act and other laws to decide whose name we can disclose and whose name, on balance, we think is a legal matter we can't. That's why you see some names in here and some names anonymized. We have the request from the committee. As I mentioned, we sought to get approval from the FBI to send that information forward.
What was the reason the FBI gave you as to why we couldn't learn who FBI agents 1 through 5 are?
They mentioned a couple of reasons, but the primary reason was that because those individuals, 2 of them were agents, one's a lawyer, work on counterintelligence matters, they had a security and safety.
Peter Strzok worked on counterintelligence matters, and we know who he is.
That's correct.
Why the disparate treatment?
I'm just telling you what was reported to us, and as I
Who's attorney number 2?
I have to think about who that is, but again, I'd want to make sure that what I was saying wasn't putting someone in jeopardy or at risk. And
what was the reason the FBI gave for not telling us who attorney number 2 is?
Same reason, that individual works on counterintelligence matters and safety and security reasons, as well as some other reasons.
What were they? I want to obtain the full universe of reasons because, I feel as though sunshine, transparency will be the way to root out this bias that we seem to see reflected. Are you familiar with the resistance movement in this country?
I am familiar with it from looking at some of these text messages, but I am not personally.
What's your general understanding of what that movement is?
I just could tell you what it says here. Somehow, resist what's going on in the country in terms of the government, governance. I have no real personal knowledge.
Does it mean resist Donald Trump? Resist his presidency?
That's my understanding, certainly as it was played out here.
So you've got Peter Strzok, who goes from the Hillary Clinton email investigation to the FBI Trump-Russia investigation to the Mueller probe. You've got Lisa Page, who goes from the Hillary Clinton email investigation to the FBI Russia investigation to the Mueller probe. And then you have attorney number 2, who similarly goes from the Hillary Clinton email investigation to the Trump-Russia investigation to the Mueller probe. It seems like a very bizarre coincidence that the way people tended to end up on the Mueller probe was some association with Hillary Clinton, whether it was the people I just identified or whether it was Andrew Weissman, who attended Hillary Clinton's election night party, or whether it was Jeannie Rhee, who had defended the Clinton Foundation in FOIA defenses. It seems so bizarre that the people you would go and accumulate to prosecute the President of the United States and investigate him would be so intertangled with these fact patterns regarding Hillary Clinton. Does that strike you as odd?
I don't know if it strikes me as odd, other than I know it as to the 3 individuals you mentioned occurred.
Is that usual for someone who's directly tied to one element of a fact pattern to then migrate over to these other investigations?
It's an excellent point, Congressman. We actually make that here as well, that from a management matter, having done corruption cases, you wouldn't put someone who just investigated an individual on one side to go investigate the other person.
Who made those staffing decisions?
It would have been the leadership of the FBI.
So it would have been James Comey who's been fired. It would have been Andrew McCabe, who has been referred for criminal prosecution as a consequence of your good work. Attorney number 2 says, "Viva la resistance," while actively investigating President Trump. Is that right?
That's my understanding.
And does it trouble you that someone who was tasked with investigating the president was associating himself with a resistance movement against the very same president?
I'll say what I said earlier. I don't care who that person was investigating. That person should not be making comments about an individual or related to a person they're investigating or the FBI is working on.
Well, it will be totally unacceptable to my constituents to say that there was a person who went from the Hillary Clinton email investigation to the Trump-Russia investigation to the Mueller probe, who identified himself and who you identified as the lead FBI lawyer on the Mueller probe, and we don't get to know who that person is, associating with the resistance, going after the president after this totally botched Hillary Clinton email investigation that you've appropriately highlighted. In this country, we cannot live in a world where unelected people at the FBI get to shelter someone who I believe was actively working against the president and actively associating and identifying with a movement that is intended to frustrate everything that this president is trying to do. So I hope we get that information, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields.